This video is going to be a review of the Rad Rover, and you'll see that there's a little bit of a storyline to it. I do wind up shooting a nice little blacktail. I'm very thankful for that meat, especially given a year where, because of my injury, I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to hunt. So I'm really thankful for that. But if you want to get just to the review portion, go ahead and scrub all the way to the end of the video, where I talk specifically about the Rad Rover bike and how it relates to hunting. Okay, well, let's do this. Hello YouTube, this is Jeff Hale from Comprehensive Outdoors, and I am on my way back from the Rad Ebike's showroom with a brand new Rad Rover. And I purchased the Rad Rover for basically one purpose, and that is to use as a hunting tool, a hunting mountain bike, to get behind closed gates that only allow you to walk or ride a bike. And the particular Rad Rover is a bike that qualifies as a regular bike. It's pedal assist, it has a restriction on it on how fast you can go. It meets all the classifications for a regular bike to be used behind closed gates. This is going to be an interesting episode. I looked and looked and looked on YouTube and could not find any videos specific to the Rad Rover as a hunting e-bike. And there's lots of e-bikes out there, and from what I understand, the Rad Rover, which comes in at $1,500, is at the very bottom. It's at the very bottom of what you can get a quality e-bike for. And now I don't have any other evidence for this other than what it says on the internet, but if you go below $1,500, $1,200, $700, $800, you're starting to get into the junk. But this is an American company, and it's located in Seattle, and these are supposed to be quality bikes. I saw lots of hunting bikes that other people had used for $2,500, $3,000, $3,500, and even $5,000. So we're going to do a review on this, and we're going to see, can it get me back into deer country, and can it get me out with the deer? Okay, so this is the Rad Rover 5 I was talking about. Come around here and take a look. First things first, I don't have a bike rack for it yet, but if you do get a bike rack, make sure it's made for a heavy e-bike or a motorcycle. I have it ordered, it's coming. But you can carry it like this, and I was wondering if it was going to even fit in my pickup. But yes, you can put some towels here, I have a bungee. You can have the cord go over. Now this bike is heavy, it's 69 pounds. It's got a max payload of 275 pounds. That means body weight plus whatever you're pulling, all your equipment. So let's take a look at the brand new Rad Rover 5. I'm pretty excited. There she blows. That's what she looks like. All right, the Rad Rover 5, the new model, comes with fenders. The old Rad Rover 5 didn't. You can lock out your suspension here, you can adjust it. These batteries are not cheap, they're about 500 bucks if you wanted to get a spare one. This also comes with a kickstand. That used to not come with the bike, but now it does. So I'm glad to see that they did that. And they have a headlight. So the fenders, kickstand, and headlight all come. This is a really nice fat cushy seat. I'm excited to see what we can do. Hey people, it's opening day of the blacktail season. And I'm way back in here. Got a foggy morning, a little bit of rain. Perfect blacktail weather. I heard a shot way off in the distance, but it's got a couple miles away. Maybe somebody got one. We are opening morning. I'm using the Rad Rover. So far this thing's amazing. Got my trailer on the back. Man, it's really a slick way to hunt, especially to get way far back in here where other people, even with mountain bikes, don't want to go. Without sweating, I can get this thing up to 15, 20 miles an hour easy, faster than you want to go on a dirt road. Okay, Jeff Hale here with Comprehensive Outdoors with Steve Freeze. We did the Rad Rovers this year. I told you I was going to do a review of the Rad Rover, and we took it blacktail hunting this year. And so far it's worked out great. I'm using one, Steve's using one, and we just got our first deer. Using the Rad Rover, covering lots of ground. I got a hurt foot, so I can't walk very far. Not a huge deer, but a nice forky. We'll take it for blacktail. All right, we'll be back once we get this sucker loaded up. All right, here we are back at the truck. We were probably 2 miles in, maybe a little more. Got it out in 20 minutes, just taking our time on the bikes. I'm pretty impressed with the trailer by Rambo. Carried up to 250 pounds. This deer's small. He's, not that. It's probably, probably 100 pounds, 110 pounds, something like that. And anyway, pretty good. I'm happy with it. Okay, here it is. I promised you that I was going to do a full review of the Rad Rover, and it's time. I'd like to just go ahead and start with would I recommend this to other hunters? That was the big question. It was kind of a risk I was taking. I was going to go out and spend this large amount of money. Was this really going to work for me? And the reason I did it, like I said before, is I have a damaged foot that I need to have surgery on. It's difficult for me to walk more than a couple hundred yards, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to hike vigorously to different places like I normally do to hunt. So I made the decision to hunt via a bike, and I chose the Rad Rover bike. So let's get into this. Would I recommend this? 100%, absolutely. If I had to do it all over again, I would. Let's talk about the price. So you can get into a Rad Rover for $1,500, right? That's the price of the Rad Rover. And while there's another bike called a Rambo hunting bike, and man, they're really nice. They start at around $4,000 and they top out at around $6,200. And I don't know about you, but for the average hunter, that's a lot of money to spend on a mountain bike, right? So for me, I think the Rad Rover was a really good choice. And then one of my biggest questions was about the range. How far can I really go on this, right? I'm gonna be on dirt roads, I'm gonna be going up steep hills. Plus you're gonna have gear on it and maybe a deer on a trailer. How long will the battery last? So Rad Bikes tells you the Rad Rover can do 25 to 45 miles depending on range. Well, that's a big range, 25 to 45 miles, right? I would say you can go for safely 12 to 14 miles hard on rough terrain, flat, downhill, but also quite a bit of uphill. Once I only got down to 1 bar, so there's 5 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the battery, right? And when you get down to 1 bar, that means you got 20% of your battery left, right? But that was on an all-day hunt. I still made it back to the truck in the dark fine with plenty of battery to spare, and I used the headlight, which I normally wouldn't use because it sucks battery, but I just wanted to see. I was at 1 bar, could I use this headlight, could I get back? And it was no problem. I have a feeling that they were probably conservative when they made that, so that, just like gas tanks, when it says you're empty, you actually have 20 or 30 miles left. Probably the same thing with the meter for the battery. Some of the roads that I were on were, I would say, probably 15% grade, and some people don't realize how steep that is, but that's 15-foot elevation for every 100 feet of horizontal travel, and that's a steep hill. I probably did some a little steeper than that. So I did a lot of hills, but most of the hills, I would be able to tackle in a minute or two. And I feel like 12 to 14 miles is probably the sweet spot where you don't want to push it more than that and you'll be safe. A solution to this is you buy a second battery. Batteries are $500 a piece, so now you got $2,000 into the bike instead of $1,500. An entry-level Rambo bike is still $4,000, so you're still way ahead of the game. Let's talk about how fast can I go. If you want a bike that's going to fly up hills, steep hills, this is not it. What you would do is on the steepest hills, I geared down to the lowest gear, which is 1, and it's just a light pedaling motion, right? It's just light pedaling. You're not straining, it's not strenuous, but you need to do it because it's pedal assist. And with that, on a very steep hill, you're going to go between 4 to 6 miles per hour. So it's not like you're ripping up hills. Remember, this is a mountain bike. It's a pedal assist mountain bike. Less steep hills, say 10% grade, you might be able to hit 7 to 9 miles per hour. And again, you're just lightly pedaling. Just slight hills, you can get ripping on slight hills. You can put it in high gear and go to this pedal assist 5, and you can probably go 15, 16 miles per hour. On paved, flat ground, even when I was pulling that deer out, I hit 18, 19 miles an hour, high gear, just pedaling easily, but I was on pedal assist 5 and just flying down the road. It's got plenty of assist and speed, but you're not going to fly up hills. What it's going to allow you to do though is easily go up hills, and you'll have to pedal, but it's not like you're putting a lot of force. You have to stand up, or you have to grind it out. You just have to pedal some. Let's talk about accessories. There's not a ton of accessories from Rad Rover. There's some, but not a ton that pertain to the hunter. So I went with I got an Ibera bike rack for about 35 bucks, and it's made for disc brakes and non-disc brakes. I got the one for disc brakes because the Rad Rover has disc brakes. It also comes with fenders, which it didn't used to come with. So that's nice. So it's got those fenders, and it comes with a kickstand, which it used to not come with. which you'll want to use. So there was not a ton of accessories, but with some creative engineering, I was able to make some modifications so that I could pair it with the Rambo bike trailer, which also makes Rambo bikes. And these bike trailers are amazing. So I put it on the Ibera bike rack. I had to do some modifications. I can do a video about that later. It wasn't that hard. I got the Rambo bike trailer to work with the Rad Rover. So let's talk about some pros. Pros of the bike. I can hunt all day without getting fatigued. I can get in farther and faster than other hunters, and I can do it without getting all sweaty, right? The nice thing about this is you're just kind of like barely pedaling. It's pedal assist, right? If you're okay with just barely pedaling and just cruising on flat ground and going 10, 11 miles an hour, which is pretty fast, you're gonna get to where you're going quickly and you're not gonna sweat. And if you're not sweating, two things happen. You're not cold later on in the hunt, and you don't stink, right? So when I'm out working out, riding a bike, I ride a real bike. I wanna sweat, I wanna get a good workout. But when I'm hunting, I don't wanna get wet and I don't wanna stink. So this was a real help using this bike. Even if I got hills ahead of me, I can hunt till dark, and I know with the pedal assist, I'm going to be able to, on flat ground and downhill, I'm going to be able to just go fast, and on uphill, I'm going to be able to just easily go 5-6 miles up this hill where other people would have to be grunting it out trying to climb up this hill. This bike allows you to couple the bike with a legitimate trailer system, right? It's able to pull the trailer just fine. There's plenty of power there. This is a class 1, this is a class 2 e-bike. So they make a class 1, a class 2, and a class 3. Class 1 and Class 2 are legal to ride behind closed gates in Washington State on Rainier land, Pope land, Washington State land. Class 3 bikes are not. A Class 1 e-bike is a pedal assist only. It's got a maximum speed of 20 miles per hour. A Class 2 e-bike is pedal assist, and it's got a little throttle. So there's some throttle assist, and there is a throttle on this, and mostly I use it because the bike's heavy to get me going. When I'm going from a standstill, or if I'm trying to like negotiate over some steep terrain, I'm trying to like walk the bike around, I'll do that. But if you just do this alone on flat ground and don't pedal, you might go 7-8 miles an hour. Downhill you can get going real fast, but the throttle's not super heavy. So legally, this is the bike to pick, because if you get a Class 3 e-bike, which some of the hunting bikes are, they're illegal to take behind certain gated off roads in Washington State. This is also a bike that's legal in Montana, I checked. Also, the Rad Rover has a limiter on it, so you're not able to go under power, I think more than 19 miles an hour. If you shut the power off though, you can go 25-30 miles an hour if you're going down a hill just under your own power, right? And I've done that. I just cut all the power off and shot down a hill on the street near my house, and you can get going really fast. You're not gonna go super fast though, because it's a fat bike and it's got 4-inch tires, so all that surface area hitting the pavement, you're not gonna get screaming like you would on a street bike, but you can go plenty fast. So let's talk about some cons. Not the greatest components on the bike. They're very basic. The pedals are very basic. The components for the gear shifters and the brake mechanisms are basic. And that's how Rad Rover is able to produce a good quality bike. They put the money in the expensive components like the electronics, the controller, the display, and they cut back on the basic things like pedals and shifters and the brake handles, right? And that's how they do it. That's how you get a good quality bike. The components are plenty fine, and you could always upgrade them later. This does have disc brakes, so that's pretty nice. The bike's heavy. It's 69 pounds, right? And the battery weighs 7, so if you take the battery off, that's 62 pounds. But the truth is, when you start looking at other electric bikes, most of them are heavy. Most of them are 50 to 70 pounds anyway, so they're all heavy. Water resistance. So this is something I was really concerned about, because I live in Washington, and during blacktail season it rains a lot, and if you're not out hunting in the rain, then you're not increasing your chance of shooting a blacktail. The blacktail really like misty, rainy, wet weather. And so I was concerned about this. Was this thing waterproof? And I talked to a lot of people, and yes, you do not have to worry about riding this in the rain. But there's one thing, and that's the display. And if you go to Bolton e-bikes online and you listen to a guy named Kyle, he's the owner of Bolton e-bikes, he talks about how the displays on the Rad Rover are not waterproof, they're water resistant, and if water got in it, it could short circuit your whole system, and you'd basically be on a regular bike without any electric power. So to combat that, you literally just take a plastic lunch baggie like this, you open it up, you put it over the display, and you put a rubber band around the base, and that keeps all the water out for the day. And I did that when I was hunting in the rain, and I had no problems. Of course, you wouldn't want to leave it outside in a torrential downpour. It's electric. I always brought it in, wiped it down, and I also bought a cover so that I could put it over my bike. So if I'm gonna, I'm hunting one evening, I come in, I dry my bike off, take the battery out, go charge it, throw the cover on, and I can leave it on my truck overnight without worrying about if it rains or not. Not a big deal. So it's not waterproof, but it's pretty water resistant. And you'll have to, like I said, do some pretty creative modifications to get a hunting trailer to fix it, to fit it. But my overall recommendation to the bike, absolutely, right? I would do it again if I had to. And in fact, I'm actually thankful that I have a hurt foot, because it forced me to buy a mountain bike, an electric mountain bike, and it allowed me to go, right, you always hear, go farther, stay longer. It's exactly what I did. I went in farther and I stayed longer, and I was able to hunt, and I was able to do that because I wasn't exhausted like I normally am. When I go, 10 miles on a mountain bike, I'm sweaty and I'm wiped out, right? I'm riding hard. On this thing, I can do those 10 miles without breaking a sweat. And I literally can have my rifle over one shoulder and my hand on the bike and just pedaling easily, just kind of cruising down the road, just looking around. And it's real easy to just jump off the bike also and walk to where you need to shoot and shoot. So it was really a slick system. I recommend it. I hope that if you're considering it, that you consider a Rad Rover. Someday, if I really get into this, I'll up my game and I'll go to something like a Rambo bike if they're legal. I'm not sure if the Rambos are class 2s or class 3s. Yeah, Rambo would be great to have, but I don't have five grand to spend on a mountain bike. So this thing was pretty amazing, and I hope this review helped you, and I hope it saved you some time, because I spent hours and hours and hours on the internet trying to find out whether or not a Rad Rover would make a good hunting bike. And I'm here to tell you, it makes a great hunting bike. So if you're interested in getting one, go check out Rad Rovers. They're by Rad Bike in Seattle. All right, this is Comprehensive Outdoors with Jeff Hale. If you like this review and you like my content, please click subscribe, please make comments, and please share. All right, good hunting to you.